Good evening, friends. Welcome to our online broadcast from the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. So as you know, we go live at 7 o'clock to support your religious practice and commitment, especially during this rains retreat when we have been holding a series of ceremonies and most importantly the series of observances here every evening. So our robe offering ceremony is held on the 24th of October. So although our rains retreat finishes tomorrow, we will be continuing with our religious observances and broadcast simply to support you, especially during this time of difficulty as well. So this evening, the sponsors, Dr. Irunika Ekneligoda and Mr. Satar, and beloved mother of Dr. Irunika, Irene Ekneligoda, they came to the Vihara to make the offerings and necessary offerings to the center as well. So the intention is to bless a departed father, beloved husband of Irene, and beloved father-in-law of Mr. Satar, Elian Ekneligoda and his brother Stanley Ekneligoda, who celebrate their birthdays today, so to share merit with the departed father and uncle. So they were born on 30th September 1927. So the intention is to share merit, accumulate merit and share merit. So they are fortunate enough to be able to sponsor this evening and sponsoring the Dhamma sermon as well to shed some light and insight to our knowledge of Dhamma. So with that, we practice the Dhamma and we deepen our practice. So we will continue with our series. So before we worship the Buddha, let us observe the 5 precepts. Say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa 3 times. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Pānātipātā vīramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi, Adinādāna vīramani sikkhapadaṃ samādhiyāmi, Kāmesu miccācārā vīramani sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi, මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. තිසරණේන සද්ධින් පංචශීලං ධම්මං අපමාදේන සම්පාදේ තබ්බං. So let's worship the Buddha together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu Anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi sattha deva manussanang buddho bhagavati Buddhaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saranam gacchāmi Ye ca buddhā ati tā ca ye ca buddhā anāgatā Paccapannā ca ye buddhā ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā Natti me saranam aññam buddho me saranam varaṃ Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jayamangalam Uttamangena vandeham pādapam suvaruttamam Buddheyo kalito doso buddho kamatu tam mamam Svakhato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko Ehi passiko opanayiko paccattam veditabbo vinyuhiti Dhammam jīvita pariyantaṃ saranam gacchāmi Ye ca dhamma atita ca ye ca dhamma anagata Paccappanna ca ye dhamma ahaṃ vandāmi sabbada Natti me saranam aññam dhammo me saranam varaṃ Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jayamangalam Uttamangena vandeham dhammam ca tividham varaṃ Tammiyo khalito doso dhammo kamatu tam mamam Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ujjapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Sāmīcipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidang cattari purisa yugani attha purisa puggala Esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakhineyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyakhetang lokasati Sanghang jivita pariyantang saranang gacchami Ye ca sangha atita ca ye ca sangha anagata Paccapanna ca ye sangha ahang vandami sabbada Natti me saranang anyang sangho me saranang varang Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalang Uttamangena vandehang sanghang cati vidottamang Sangheyo kalito doso sangho khamatu tang mamang Kanasarappadittena dīpena tamadang sina Tiloka dīpang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang Vannagandha gunopetang etang kusuma santating Pujayami munindassa siripada saroruhe Pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punyena metena ca hotu mokkang Uppahang milayati yatha idam me kayo tatha yati vinasa bhavang Adhivasetu no bhante paniyang parikappitang Anukampang upadaya patiganhatu uttama Adhivasetu no bhante gilana paccayang imang Anukampang upadaya patiganhatu uttama Adhivasetu no bhante bhesajjang parikappitang Anukampang upadaya patiganhatu uttama Adhivasetu no bhante sabbang saddhaya pujitang Anukampang upadaya patiganhatu uttama Vandami cetiyang sabbang sabbatani supatitthitang Saririka dhatu mahabodhing buddha rupang sakalang sada Yassa mule nisinno ve sabbari vijayang aka Patto sabbanyutang sattha vandetang bodhipadapang Ime ete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita Ahampite namassami bodhiraja namattute Kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang Accayang kamami bhante bhuri panye tathagata Kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang Accayang kamami sangha supatipanna anuttara Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang Sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang Sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ettavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang Sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idamme punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu. Sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So now we are going to chant Ratana Sutta and Bojjhanga Sutta and Jayaparitta to bless you for your good health, happiness, success and prosperity. May you all enjoy good health, especially during this time. May you be safe, may you be protected. May the families of the sponsors, Dr. Irunika Eknelikoda and Mr. Satar, may all be well, happy and peaceful. May they rejoice in the Pinkama and also gain determination and courage to continue their services. May all their righteous aspirations be fulfilled. And you as online community, may you be well, happy. If you have any family or friends who are ill, bear them in your thoughts so that the blessings from the chanting be conducive for their speedy recovery and well-being, and especially to continue their good health throughout. We also dedicate the chanting as always to all the key workers working tirelessly to serve the nation, especially the nature staff, doctors and nurses. May they also enjoy good health and may they develop courage and determination to continue their valuable services to the nation and looking after the patients and their families. So all in all, may the chanting, may the blessings from the chanting be conducive for your wholesome well-being. May all your righteous aspirations be fulfilled. So the Ratana Sutta is a sutta we chant when there are difficult times and problems. During the Buddha's time, such pandemic or similar, not similar, but a difficult time arose in the city of Isala, and death's fear all were arising. So we call durbhiksha, so the scarcity of food and so and so. So all of when the people requested from the Buddha for blessing, he uttered this discourse, and when Venerable Ananda chanted this out of compassion and sprinkled holy water in the city is said to have recovered. Bojjhanga Sutta, the Chunda Bojjhanga Sutta was when the Buddha himself was ill at one time, and he asked Venerable Chunda to chant the sutta, and at the end of the sutta, the Buddha also recovered from his illness. Jayaparitta is an aspiration that we do. May all the qualities of enlightenment, or may all the qualities of the Buddha be conducive, may the truth of it be conducive for your well-being. So we make a determination at the end of the sutta. So with those kind intention, we chant the suttas to bless you for your good health, happiness, success and prosperity. So please listen to the chanting with great attention and respect. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gacchantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Saggamokkadam Parittasavana Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Parittasavana Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Parittasavana Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yāni dabhūtāni samāgatāni bummāni vāyāni vayantalikhe sabbeva bhūtā sumana bhavantu athopi sakkacca sunantu bhāsitam tasmāhi bhūtāni sāmita sabbe mettam karotha manusiyāpajāye Divāca ratto ca haranti e baling tasmahi nirakkata appamatta Yankinci vittang idhava hurang va sakkesu vāyang ratanang panitang Nano samang atthita thāgatena idampi buddhe ratanang panitang Etena saccena suvattiyotu Kayang viragang amatang panitang yadajjaga sakya muni samahito Natena dhammena samathi kinci idampi dhamme ratanang panitang Etena saccena suvatti hotu Yang buddha setta parivannai sucing samadhimanantarikanyamahu Samadhinātena samona vicchati idampi dhamme ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu ye puggala attha satang pasattha cattari etani yugani honti te dakkhineya sugatassa savakāye te sudinnāni mahapphalāni Idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu Ye suppayutta manasa dalhena nikkamino gotama sasanam hi Te pattipatta amatang vigaihe laddha mudha nibbuting bhunjamana Idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu Yatinda khilo pathaving sito siya chatubhivate bhiya sampakampiyo Tathupamang sappurisang vadami yo variya saccani avecce passati Idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu Ye ariya saccani vibhavayanti gambhira panyena sudesitani Kincapi te honti bhusappamatta te bhavang attamang adiyanti Idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu Sahavassa dassana sampadaya tayassu dhamma jahita bhavanti Sakkaya ditthi vicikiccitam ca silabbataṃ vāpi yadatti kinci Catuha pāye ca vippamutto ca cābithānāni abhabbo kātum Idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu Kincapi sokammang karoti papakang kayena vaca udcetasava Abhabbo sotassa paticchādāya abhabbata ditta padassa vutta Idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu Vanappagumbe yatā pussitagge gimhānamāse patamasmiṃ gimhe Tathupamang dhamma varang adesai nibbāna gāmiṃ paramang hitāya idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu varo varanyo varado varaharo anuttaro dhamma varang adesai idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu kīnang purānang navang natti sambhavang viratta citta āyatike bhavasmiṃ tekhīna bīja avirullicchanda nibbanti dhīrā yathāyaṃ padīpo idampi sanghe ratanang panītaṃ etena saccena suvatti hotu यानि दभूतानि समागतानि बुम्मानि वायानि वयन्तलिखे तथागतं देवमनुस्य पूजितं धम्मं नमस्साम सुवत्ति होतु यानि दभूतानि समागतानि बुम्मानि वायानि वयन्तलिखे तथागतं देवमनुस्य पूजितं धम्मं नमस्साम सुवत्ति होतु यानि भूतानि समागतानि ब्रह्माणि वायानि वयन्तलिखे तथागतं देवमनुस्य पूजितं संघं नमस्साम सुवत्ति होतु एतेन सच्चवज्जेन दुःखावुपशमिन्तु ते एतेन सच्चवज्जेन भयावुपशमिन्तु ते एतेन सच्चवज्जेन रोगावुपशमिन्तु ते एवं मे सुतं एकं समयं भगवा राजगहे विहरति वेलुवने कलन्दकनिवापे तेन कोपन समयेन आबाधिको होति दुःखितो बालगिलानो अतको आयस्मा महाचुन्दो सायन्न समयं पतिसल्लाना उत्थितो येन भगवातेनुपसङ्कमि उपसङ्कमित्वा भगवन्तं अभिवादित्वा एकमन्तं निसीदि एकमन्तं निसिन्नं को आयस्मन्तं महाचुन्दं भगवा एतद्वोच पटिबन्तु तं चुन्दबोज्जङ्गाति सत्ति मे भन्ते बोज्जंगा भगवता सम्मदक्खाता भाविता बहुलीकता अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तन्ति कतमे सत्त सति संबोज्जंगो को भन्ते भगवता सम्मदक्खातो भावितो बहुलीकतो अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तति धम्मविचय संबोज्जंगो को भन्ते भगवता सम्मदक्खातो भावितो बहुलीकतो अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तति विरिय संबोज्जंगो को भन्ते भगवता सम्मदक्खातो भावितो बहुलीकतो अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तति पीति संबोज्जंगो को भन्ते भगवता सम्मदक्खातो भावितो बहुलीकतो अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तति पश्यद्धि संबोज्जंगो को भन्ते भगवता सम्मदक्खातो भावितो बहुलीकतो अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तति समाधि संबोज्जंगो को भन्ते भगवता सम्मदक्खातो भावितो बहुलीकतो अभिज्ञाय संबोधाय निब्बानाय संवत्तति Upekha sambojjhango ko bhante bhagavata sammadakkhāto bhavito bahulīkato abhiññāya sambodhāya nibbānāya samvattati imeko bhante satta bojjhanga bhagavata sammadakkhāta bhavita bahulīkata abhiññāya sambodhāya nibbānāya samvattanti tagga chunda bojjhangāti idamavo chāyasmā mahāchundo samanuñño sattā ahosi utthāhi ca bhagavā tamma ābādhā tathā pahino ca bhagavato so ābādho ahosīti etena sacca vajjena rogā upasamentu te etena sacca vajjena rogā upasamentu te etena sacca vajjena rogā upasamentu te siriditi mati tejo jaya siddhi mahiddhi mahagunang aparimita puññādhikārassa sabbantarāya nivārana samattasya bhagavato arahato sammā sambuddhassa dvattiṃ samahā purisa lakkhanānu bhāvēna asītyanu vyanjana lakkhanānu bhāvēna Attuttara satamangala lakkhanānu bhāvēna cabbannaraṃ syānu bhāvēna ketumālānu bhāvēna dasapāramitānu bhāvēna dasupapāramitānu bhāvēna dasaparamatha pāramitānu bhāvēna Sīla samādhi paññānu bhāvēna buddhānu bhāvēna dhammānu bhāvēna sanghānu bhāvēna tejānu bhāvēna iddhānu bhāvēna balānu bhāvēna ñeya dhammānu bhāvēna caturāsīti sahassa dhammakkandhānu bhāvēna navalokuttara dhammānu bhāvēna atthangika maggānu bhāvēna atta samāpatyānu bhāvēna chalabhiññānu bhāvēna mettā karunā muditā upekkhánu bhāvēna sabba pāramitānu bhāvēna Ratanataya saranānu bhāvēna tuyaṃ sabba roga soka upaddava dukkha domanassa pāyāsā vinassantu sabba sankappā tuyaṃ samijjantu dīghāyuko hotu satavassa jīvēna samangiko hotu sabbadā Ākāsa pambata vana bhūmi tatāka gangā mahāsamudda ārakkaka devatā sadā tumhe anurakkantu sabba buddhānu bhāvēna sabba dhammānu bhāvēna sabba sanghānu bhāvēna buddha ratanaṃ dhamma ratanaṃ sangha ratanaṃ Tinnang ratanānaṃ ānubhāvēna caturāsīti sahassa dhammakkandhānu bhāvēna pitakattayānu bhāvēna jinasāvakānu bhāvēna sabbete rogā sabbete bhayā sabbete antarāyā sabbete upaddavā Sabbete dunnimittā sabbete avamangalā vinassantu Āyu vaddhako siri vaddhako yasa vaddhako bala vaddhako vanna vaddhako sukha vaddhako hotu sabbadā dukkha roga bhaya vera soka sabbe paddavā aneka antarāyāpi vinassantu ca tejasā Jaya siddhi dhanam labham sotti bhagyam sukham balam siriyayu ca vanno ca bhogam uddhi ca yasava Satavassa cha ayuche jiva siddhi bhavantu te. Akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva. Chirang rakhantu loka sasanang akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu dhamma desanang akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu mang paranti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that is the end of our chanting. Now let us share merit accumulated so far. The sponsors, Dr. Irunika Eknelikode and her husband Mr. Satar and mother, beloved mother Irene Eknelikode, would like to share or dedicate the merit accumulated to Dr. Irunika's beloved father, late father Elian Eknelikode and Uncle Stadley Eknelikode. They were both born on the 30th of September 1927. So Dr. Irunalika would like to share merit and bless them. So if they are in an unfortunate state in samsara, may they recover and progress into a happy state of condition by receiving our merit. If they are in a good condition, may they prosper and make their samsaric lives happy and peaceful, and eventually may they attain the blissful state of Nibbana. Dr. Irunika Eknelikode Mahatmiya tamange Dayabra Piyanan Wahanse Elian Eknelikode Mahatmata Pinpit Anmodan Karannata Mama Statli Eknelikode Mahatmata Pinpit Anmodan Karannata Adavase Viharasthani Me Karana Vaspinkam Ve Dausidakata Daragena E Buddha Puja Payutwimin Pansil Samadan Vimin Pirit Sutra Voltaimkang Dimin Siludanatam Setasantia Langakar Dineta Pirit Sajhana Karavimin Tasulum Hotaking Kiti Dharman Sasna Prasa Maitri Bhavna Tatpat Kargana Pin E Pianan Mahanse Tat E Mama Tat Bapa Tat सांसारिक वचन सपलंगा बेवा यम किसी देखेंगे भविष्यस्थान के सिटिनवान इन अतमिति सपलंगा करगनित्वा सपेंग सिटिनवान ए सपतावत वर्धिने कोटगिना अपरत आशीर्वाद करत्वा ए सांसारिक जीवित सपत करगन केलवर प्रार्थना कन बोधिय किंग उत्तम अमा महान्युवन स्वे साक्षात करगन्नट ए पिन हेतु वासना बेवा एकलितागिन अपे कौरुत साधु कारक दिल पुण्यानुमोदना वेमु साधु साधु साधु. So we take a very short break. Stay tuned. We will come back with our short reflection and meditation on loving kindness. Dear friends, so this session is about a short reflection which in the past few days we have not done simply due to the request of the chanting of Girimananda Sutta by the congregation. So we chanted those suttas wishing everyone good health, safety, happiness during this time of difficulty, as well as remembering anyone or dedicating it to anyone who is ill for their speedy recovery. So today we chanted the Bojjhanga Sutta when the Buddha was himself ill, had requested Venerable Chunda to chant the sutta, and at the end of the sutta it is recorded that the Buddha recovered from his illness as well. So we dedicated chanting to all of you for your good health and happiness, and also if there are any persons, friends, family who are ill, wishing them speedy recovery and also as an online community, your safety and happiness and courage and determination. May you develop courage and determination to get through the time of difficulty during this pandemic. So we come back to our short reflection given the time. So if you are new to this, we have been reflecting on the stanzas from the Dhammapada. It's a book, a collection of Buddha's advice upon reflection, or even advice to monks and devotees or community then. And it contains 423 verses in 26 chapters. So we were in the chapter called the Sahasrabhaga, or the 1000, which is the 8th chapter in the book. So I want to refer to the verse number 113 today. Yocha vassa satang jive apassang udayavayang ekahang jivitang seyo passatu udayavayang. Though one lives 100 years without comprehending how all things rise and pass away, so without noticing or understanding or comprehending impermanence, the rise and passing away, yet better indeed is a single day's life of one who comprehends how all things rise and pass away. So if you contemplate on even one day with impermanence, or one day with realizing how things rise and pass away, or cause and effect, or even in terms of udaya means to rise, vaya means to cease. So that day is better than a person who does not contemplate or does not comprehend the rise and fall of 5 aggregates, and so on. We'll discuss in a few moments. So it is better, one day is better than 100 years of life without the realization of rise and fall, or udaya and vaya. So this was in particular a reflection given by the Buddha, and I will read this story, the story behind which most of us know, the Patachara story. So it is quite interesting to see how she went through all the difficulties with all the problems in life, and eventually realized and attained enlightenment. So Patachara was the daughter of a rich man from Savatthi. She was very beautiful and was well guarded by her parents. But one day she fell in love and eloped with a young attendant of the family and went to live in a village far away from Savatthi. In due course she became pregnant. As the time for confinement drew near, on several occasions she asked permission from her husband to return to her parents in Savatthi, but her husband, fearing that he would be beaten up by her parents, discouraged her. So one day while her husband was away, she set out for the home of her parents. Her husband managed to catch up with her on the way and pleaded with her to return home, but she refused. Since the delivering time was due, she gave birth to a son near a bush. After the birth of her son, she returned home with her husband. Then she became pregnant again, and she made the same request as before and received the same answer. As the time for the second confinement drew near, she again set out for the home of her parents in Savatthi, taking her son with her. Her husband followed her again and caught up with her on the way, but her time for delivery was coming on very fast, and it was also raining heavily. The husband went to look for a suitable place, and while she was clearing a little patch of land, he was bitten by a poisonous snake and died on the spot. Patachara, while waiting for his return, gave birth to a second son. In the morning she searched for her husband, but only found his dead body. Full of grief and blaming herself for the death of her husband, she continued on her way to her parents. Because it had rained incessantly the whole night, the river was swollen, so it was not possible for her to cross the river carrying both her sons. Leaving the elder son boy on one bank of the river, she crossed the stream with her day-old son and left him on the other bank. She then went back for the elder boy. While she was in the middle of the river, a hawk hovering over the baby, thinking it was a piece of meat, She shouted to frighten away the hawk, but it was all in vain. The hawk carried the baby away. Meanwhile, the elder boy heard his mother shouting from the middle of the river and thought she was calling for him. He tried to go to his mother but was carried away by the strong current. Thus, Patachara lost her 2 sons as well as her husband. So she wept and lamented loudly. A son is carried away by a hawk, another son is carried away by the current. My husband is also dead, bitten by a poisonous snake. Then she met a man from Savatthi and tearfully asked after her parents. The man replied that due to a violent storm in Savatthi the previous night, the house of her parents had fallen down, and that both her parents, together with her only brother, had also died and had been cremated. On hearing this tragic news, Patachara went stark mad. She did not even notice that her clothes had fallen off from her and was half naked. She went about the streets shouting out, "Woe is me!" At this time, the Buddha was preaching at the Jetana monastery and he saw Patachara at a distance, so he willed that she should come to the congregation. The crowd, seeing her coming, tried to stop her, saying, "Don't let the mad woman come in." But the Buddha told them not to prevent her coming in. So when Patachara was close enough to hear him, he told her to control her mind and to keep calm. Someone gave her a piece of cloth to cover herself. She then told the Buddha how she had lost her sons, her husband, her parents, and her only brother. The Buddha consoled her, "Patachara, have no fear. You have now come to one who can protect you and can really guide you. Throughout this round of existence, or samsara, the amount of tears you have shed on account of the death of sons, husbands, parents, brothers is voluminous." Then the Buddha expounded to her the Anamatagga Sutta, which dealt with countless existences, and she felt relieved and calmed. The Buddha added that one should not worry too much about those who were gone, but that one should purify oneself and strive to realize enlightenment. On hearing this discourse, Patachara realized the uncertainty and futility of existences and became established in the path that leads to the attainment of liberation from samsara. Patachara then became a nun, bhikkhuni. One day she was cleaning her feet with water from a pot. This is where the message comes in. As she poured the water for the first time, it flowed only a short distance and disappeared. Then she poured for the second time, and the water went a little further. But the water she poured for the third time went the furthest. As she looked at the flow and the disappearance of water poured out successively for 3 times, she came to perceive clearly the 3 stages of life of beings. The Buddha, seeing her through his supernormal powers from the Jetana monastery, sent forth his radiance and exhorted her, "Patachara, you are now on the right path, and you now have the true perception of the component things of life. One who does perceive the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and unsubstantiality of the component things is useless even if he were to live for 100 years. So Patachara then attained Arahanthood. So in essence, what it is trying to say is, obviously the story is a long story, but Patachara, because she did not understand the issues of life and death, and because she actually, all of it came directly to her, especially when the deaths of her sons, husband, even her parents, all of a sudden became a shock. But later on she realized something. She realized that things change. Materialistic things change. That is not hard for us to understand. But for us to comprehend that, we also need to realize that every experience that we have is impermanent. Every experience that we encounter through our senses is impermanent. Now, a particular thought that arose within oneself from, for example, a sight of thing, is because of the conditions that existed for that thought to arise. When we actually hold on to that thought, we forget that actually the conditions for the existence of the object that we saw may have already changed or is already changing. But we then statically hold on to that mental formation. So the idea gets stuck into as if we have taken a snapshot from a camera. Or so whatever we see, hear, feel, sense, touch, we sense it through our perception. The understanding of our perception creates a mental idea or a formation. That is what we get hooked into. If we don't realize that even that is impermanent, because as soon as you hear something, the idea from this sight has already gone or is not more in existence. Even the conditions for that would have already changed. So this understanding of the five aggregates, the mental formation or sankhara, the self-created mind that we actually get hooked into, is what we have to try to understand as impermanence as well, not just the physical materialistic things. Because we only see things changing once it is gone, or once it has completely changed. So life and death is a very sharp distinction, like black and white. But to realize the ongoing change, or that life is transient, as in the Far East, with an old saying, they say, you never step on the same river twice. That's how transient every moment, every thought is even within ourselves, changing. So Buddhists offer flowers to the Buddha simply to understand that. Puppang milayat yathai dhamme. I offer these flowers to you, but they fade away in a few moments. Every moment they are in the process of fading or dying, changing. And then we apply that to our personal body. Kayo tatha yati vinasa bhavam. My body is also subject to change. Now this is how we try to internalize the understanding of impermanence. So we become ill, we change, we age. All of this is a process in the changing. Now obviously things do change, but perhaps we can learn how to not get affected by it. Because once you observe and realize that, not see or understand the change, but realize that the change has you have no control over the changes, that is where the true realization and understanding is. When you realize that you have no control or will over change, then we will not be worrying on the changes. Now, symbolically, the four sides of the Prince Siddhartha, you can see. When he saw an old person, he truly realized, I am too subject to this change and will become old one day. Until then he had this youth or pride of youth within oneself, thinking I will never be old. And there are lots of people sometimes who act like that, will think that the prime of youth is always going to be there forever. When he saw a sick person, he also realized, I am also subject to be sick. So the health pride completely went away. When he saw a dead body, then he realized, I am also subject to change and will eventually perhaps leave the body and die. And he realized that. So the realization of this is important, that not just the materialistic things, even your thought processes is something that when we hold on to those thought processes, when we cling on to those thought processes, which is like the memories perhaps that come, it is like that snapshot you took, we get involved with those memories very differently, as if it was the permanent thing and that it will not change. All those memories are history. When we discuss about things, we are trying to rewrite the stories behind those emotions, but we can never write those emotions. What we can actually do is be mindful in the current moment and not allow those types of thought processes, or not hold on to those thought processes which we technically ignore to that it is impermanent. We forget that, then we start holding on to it. So we have to think of this self-created thought that we generate every second, sankhara. So when we cling on to this, it becomes a dukkha, unsatisfactory feeling, which we call in Pali sankhata dukkha. The unhappiness is created by yourself by hooking on to that thought, or by actually not realizing that thought was particularly generated, or a process that you created, without realizing the conditions that were there beyond control. So when you realize this, it is quite clear that nothing, even your thought process or thinking, is not permanent. So what can we hold on to? What is it that we think is permanent in the world? Nothing. It is simply a process that we are taking, we are living. And when this realization took place, for example, the Patachara, when she was, the Bhikkhuni, when she was washing her legs, you can see that the waters actually disappeared as it flew, as it went down the soil, and it disappeared. Similarly, she just realized that what comes, it was muddy, and then water went in the sand and slowly disappeared. That itself was quite a strong, perhaps kinesthetic way of trying to see what really happens. And even in our minds, the thoughts simply vanish. We then bring it back and again deal with it, get involved with it all the time. I use this analogy as, if you throw a tea bag into the bin, we don't go back to the bin and take the tea bag to make another cup of tea. But most of us do that. We go back, and then with the same tea bag we try to make another tea bag. That means we bring the emotion back and start working and talking about it. And then we are creating pain and suffering for ourselves. If you remember, I don't remember, there was another monk who was quite, he found hard to understand and learn the Dhamma, but the Buddha gave him just a piece of cloth. And what the Buddha said was to, early in the morning, just to take the piece of white cloth and rub your hand over it. And by the time the sun was rising and the heat was increasing in the environment, perhaps the perspiration from his palm slowly made the white piece of cloth go dirty. And that itself was enough for him to understand impermanence, that nothing is going to last forever, it's always changing. So we have to then apply this to our physical body, to our thoughts, to our perception. We all get hooked into our fixed views, we all get hooked into our knowledges, and we filter the information thinking that is the ultimatum. So the longer we take to release ourselves from those views, the longer we take to actually disconnect from our prejudices and fixed views, the longer we take for us to uncling from the thoughts and mental thoughts that we create and cling on to them, the longer we take to release ourselves from that, we will always be in the state of unhappiness. So a day of realization of impermanence, a day of realization that we are all subject to change, and that contemplation itself is good enough, rather than living a life 100 years without realizing a bit of it. So if you don't think of impermanence, our life becomes always selfish, self-centered, hedonistic. It always becomes the egoistic nature that nurturing every behavior and thinking pattern and our speech. So a life or a moment of contemplation of impermanence truly develops that realization within oneself, and hopefully the more contemplation one makes, the quicker the understanding of the Dhamma can be. So with that short reflection on that Gatha verse 113 from the book Dhammapada, we come to a close and we will now do meditation. Okay, so sit straight, adjust your body. So you have to free yourself from your seat if you have been sitting. Don't rest your back on it unless you have a physical difficulty. So sit straight, balanced body, right hand on your left palm and eyes gently closed. So once you have composed yourself, once you have decided that that is the posture that you are taking, put a stop to the move, put a stop to your thinking, and simply be in the present moment, which is just the realization or the noticing that you are sitting for meditation. Look at your body. Just take an observation of your body. It's quiet, it's still, it's not moving. It is completely still. When you notice the stillness, you notice that the body is lacking restlessness, lacking motion. It's quite important to notice this, because that is perhaps a manifestation of your still and quiet and peaceful mind. Imagine you had some job to do, you would be rushing things. Imagine your body was in pain, you'll be thinking about it. Imagine itchiness, you'd want to scratch. So all this fidgety restlessness comes or mirrors what your mind is. So enjoy that stillness, enjoy that happiness. Enjoy that moment, that posture. It's free from commitments, you're free from your duties. There's nothing to rush. Be pleased and be happy that you have sat down for this meditation. If there are family or friends around you sitting with you, appreciate their presence, their stillness. Notice the stillness even in them, and perhaps even around your surrounding, your room, your hall area, everything is still. That itself should give a hint how we should still our mind. Because the more your mind is still, the more your mind is not looking for excitement, it will not wander. So when you still your mind, you can then develop a skill that if it wanders, you would rein it back. That means you let go of things that your mind took attention of and come back to that stillness observation. The reason why your mind might wander is because it is always looking for something to get hooked into, to get entertained. And perhaps when it does not meet your expectation, you have a problem with it. Then you judge and say you dislike it or it's not good. Similarly with relationships, with your experiences, with your day-to-day expectations, when you interact with people, we always look for something, whether it is window shopping or you're shopping online. Things become a bit tedious sometimes. We have a list of criteria, which I call conditions, in our head before even we look for things. And we are unhappy always because we don't get them sometimes. So what creates a gap between your present moment and happiness is nothing but your expectation. Expecting something and doing is a problem for people. You talk to someone, you don't get a response, you might not be happy. So when expectations fail, there is dissatisfaction. When there is dissatisfaction, we might generate impatience within ourselves. Then slowly restlessness kicks in. When there is impatience and restlessness, it erases the kindness that we have in our hearts. Because where there is unsatisfaction or unhappiness or dissatisfaction, there is always a bitter feeling of frustration and sometimes developing to envy or even ill will. Every response becomes bitter and ill will. You're filtering everything through that ill will now. Patigha Sanya in Pali. So we need to get rid of this ill will or ill thinking nature by simply getting rid of the conditions that we create through our fixed views. Then only this peace of mind will be there in your thought, in your mind, that allows you to generate kindness. So when you develop metta or loving kindness, it is about developing that well-wishing thought instead of ill-wishing, developing patience instead of impatience, developing love and happiness and joy instead of jealousy, developing wisdom instead of stupidity, developing concerns instead of argumentations argumentative thoughts, developing the readiness to help instead of desiring or wishing something wrong happen to others. So the kindness that we develop is very simple. The type of love that a parent would show to her only child, the mother would show to her only child. That is the type of love that we have to generate, discarding every negative emotion. The more you get involved with those emotions, the more unhappy you become. So discarding your fixed views, dittincha anupagamma silava, you develop that restraint and then develop loving kindness, that peace of mind. The peace of mind through happiness, being free from negative things, being free from the widening factor of conditions. You can enjoy that happiness because there is nothing that actually tortures your mind. And when you learn and when you understand what kindness is because you wish that for yourself, you can then share and apply that to others as well. If you don't know what kindness is that happens to yourself, how can you be kind to other people? Just imagine a state that you wanted someone to help you desperately and then you got that help. That is the type of person we need to be. Be ready for anything and help everyone, however, whenever possible. If you are selfish and self-centered, that attitude simply gets wiped off. The behavior at home might be very different if you are a selfish person, fighting for the remote control, arguing for silly things. That all shows the lack of kindness for your own personal mind, personal body. So you can see how the state of mind will completely impact on your behavior and words. So loving kindness is not just for this 10-15 minutes of meditation, but it is to practice day in, day out. Think kindly, act kindly, do things, say kind things. Then there is no burden in the head, there is happiness throughout. So only if you are kind to yourself, you will not allow those things to harm you, to make you a different person. Similarly, wishing someone is not in a selfish way, but in a very compassionate way, wishing everyone well. So you can repeat these lines of kind thinking, well-wishing thinking. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no problems come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May I always meet with success. May I also have the patience, courage and understanding to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May I be free from anger and jealousy. May I be free from frustration, anxiety and worries. May I be free from pain and suffering. Now we share with those that you're associated with. Don't recall those who have passed away, or even those, skip the stations that they don't relate to you. May my parents, grandparents, teachers, uncles and aunts and in-laws, husband, wife or partner, brothers, sisters, brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, children, grandchildren, cousins, nephews and nieces, friends, colleagues at work, neighbors, and those that you meet randomly but share a smile every day. May they all be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no problems come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May they always meet with success. May they also have the patience, courage and understanding to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May they be free from anger and jealousy. May they be free from frustration, anxiety and worries. May they be free from pain and suffering. May all living beings, including your pets, birds, animals and insects that come to your garden, seen and unseen beings, including all sentient beings, be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no problems come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May they always meet with success. May they also have the patience, courage and understanding to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May they be free from pain and suffering. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May I be free from pain and suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that brings us to the close of our broadcast for today. So we go live at 7 o'clock every day. And this series will continue until the 24th of October when we hold our cutting robe offering ceremony. So 23rd will be the last in the series. Although our rains retreat finished tomorrow, we will be holding the series to help you, to support you with your religious practices during the season of Kathina month as well, and also to support your Dhamma practice during the lockdown time. So from wherever you are, you can participate in our religious observances here at the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. So all merit accumulated today from observing 5 precepts, worshipping the Buddha, listening to chanting, listening to a short reflection on impermanence and meditating on loving kindness, may all merit accumulated be conducive to the beloved fathers of father and uncle of Dr. Irunika Ekneligoda. So beloved father passed away long time ago. So Elian Ekneligoda and Stadley Ekneligoda. So may they both receive our blessings. May they make their lives happy and peaceful wherever they are. May they rejoice in our pink karma, punya karma, and make their sansaric lives happy, and eventually may they attain the blissful state of Nibbana. So the sponsors, Dr. Irunika and Mr. Satar, and the beloved mother of Dr. Irunika, Irene Ekneligoda, they came to the Vihara before the puja and made the offerings this evening and are participating from home. So we join you to share merit with our beloved father Elian Ekneligoda and uncle Stadley Ekneligoda. So we will say Dhamme Nyati Nang Hotu to share merit. Idamme Nyati Nang Hotu Sukhita Huntu Nyatayo. Idamme Nyati Nang Hotu Sukhita Huntu Nyatayo. Idamme Nyati Nang Hotu Sukhita Huntu Nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So may all merit accumulated also be conducive for you as an online community, for your well-being, May you stay safe and happy, and may you develop your peace of mind, especially during these times of difficulty, during this pandemic. May you be safe. May the protection of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha be upon you. May the blessings be upon you, especially for your good health and happiness. So stay safe, take care, and have a very good evening.